Hi guys, it's Jess from Honest Fiction, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be sharing my end of summer book haul. Alright guys, so it's been a while since I posted a book haul, and that is because I am trying to cut down on my book buying. So I realized I was buying a lot of books very impulsively. Anything that sounded good on Bookstagram or BookTube, I was buying, and now my TBR, or my physical TBR, is out of control, and I'm also starting to notice it a little bit in my savings. So I have done a pretty good job of not purchasing books over the last 2 months. Now, I have received a decent amount of books via book subscription boxes that I also need to cut down on, and then books that were sent to me from authors, friends, and then I did purchase a couple of books. So I'm very excited to talk about these books with you guys. Now, if you're unfamiliar with my channel, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. You can also hit that notification bell to be notified whenever I post new bookish content. You can also check out my Instagram, Goodreads, and Patreon, all linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's talk about these books. Before we get into the book haul, I do want to share my newest reading journal. So this journal is from Clever Fox, and I gotta be honest, I am somewhat new at journaling. However, they made it so easy. So when you first open the journal, there's a page of how it works. There's also some stickers if you would like to decorate it. But when you first open, there's also a page that has title, page number, and then a star review. So you can fill that out, and then when you turn to said page, there is a whole book review page where you can put the title, genre, setting, your thoughts about the book, and it really goes in depth. And I love that. I've been trying to keep better track of my reading in 2024, and I feel like this will definitely help. So I will have a link for the Clever Fox reading journal down in the description below. So starting off with special editions, first up we have a YA fantasy. It is Sleep Like Death, and this is Fairytales either June or July YA book of the month. So this is actually a Snow White reimagining. We are following Eve, and she has the power to not only talk to animals, but also to conjure weapons out of nature. So she has trained her entire life to one day kill the Knight, who is this monster who has been plaguing the realm. Well, on the day that Eve is supposed to go and conquer this Knight, her mother, who I believe is the queen, starts acting very erratically, and then Eve starts to doubt if she'll actually be able to use her powers to save her people, or if all will be doomed. And it goes from there, but it sounds so good. I believe it also features a sapphic romance, and I've never read a Snow White reimagining before, so I am so excited to pick this up. I do plan on picking this up in September. So next up is Bonded by Thorns, and this is a adult wide shoes fantasy romance that was inspired by Beauty and the Beast. If you're unfamiliar with the story, we are following Rosalia, and she is this girl that her father is kind of considered an oddball to the community because he believes in fae. And one day, her father ends up going missing, and when Rosalia goes to try to find him, she ends up in the Fae realm. And when she finds her father, she finds out that he's actually been taken prisoner by these 4 different Fae that transform into beasts at night. So she offers them a deal. She will help break the curse that is on them, the curse being that they're going to keep transforming into beasts until they find their one true mate, and they will let her father go. So she trades places, and the story goes from there, and this was so, so good. I will say I do have to reread this before I read the sequel, because I do forget some of the little stuff that happens, but I really, really enjoyed this book, and once again, it is just absolutely stunning. And next up we have The Night Ends with Fire. This is Fairylute's adult fantasy romance pick for July. And I'm going to be completely honest, I opened this book, I didn't recognize the title, I put it on my shelf, and I kind of forgot about it because I've talked about this before. How I do my book hauls is when I get books, I just put them on a shelf, and when that shelf gets full, I then do a book haul, and then I get to really explore the books. But anyway, I just read the synopsis, and I think this might be an adult Mulan reimagining, and if that's the case, I am reading this book today. I love Mulan. It is one of my overall favorite Disney movies of all time. And if this is an adult version, especially if it's an adult spicy version, I'm going to be so unbelievably excited. But I believe the story is following Linde, and in order to not be sold into marriage, she ends up joining or disguising herself as a boy, joining this army, and when she gets there, she starts to earn the respect of a lot of the other soldiers and the prince. They start to have like a special bond, but then as the war really starts to get going, there's this sea dragon who I think is supposed to kind of be like an evil Mushu, who ends up offering our main character these dark powers. So she has to decide if she wants to take these powers, where her loyalties lie, and it just sounds so good. So I will be reading this very, very soon. I'm very mad at myself that I've had it for this long and didn't know the synopsis, but I am so, so excited. And next up we have yet another reimagining. I swear I did not realize when I sat down to film this video that the first like 5 books were reimaginings, but this is a Curse of Blood and Wolves. It is a dark Red Riding Hood reimagining. It was FairyLoot's May Romantasy book of the month, and I will say the plot synopsis isn't really giving me a lot. So it says we're following this girl who is going through the woods when she feels this ominous presence behind her, and although she is scared, she also kind of yearns for said presence, and it goes from there. So I'm not exactly sure what goes down in this story, just that it is a Red Riding Hood reimagining, and apparently it's dark, but I will definitely be picking this up during the fall just because I love reading all of those like spooky, shifter, vampire, witch type books, and I have a feeling this guy might be either a werewolf or a shifter. But anyway, another amazing FairyLoot special edition. And next up we have The Wren in the Holly Library. So I've actually shared this book in another book haul, but it was the standard edition, and this is the FairyLoot Special Romantasy edition for, I believe, July. But I was supposed to read this book in August, and unfortunately, I didn't get to it. I just ran out of time, so hopefully I will be reading this book soon. From what I remember, we're following a thief who ends up getting way more than she bargained for when she breaks into a monster's house. And it goes from there. I've had so many mixed reviews, or I've talked to people that have given this mixed reviews. Some people seem to absolutely love it. Other people think it's predictable. So I'm very interested to see where I fall. So once again, hopefully I will be reading this very, very soon. And the next 2 special editions are both contemporary romances. So first up we have The Homewrecker by Cate. So this is following a man who has been in a 7-year marriage, and he's drawn into this dangerous game when a friend from his past, Dean, ends up showing up and has some sparks flying with our main character's wife. And then what starts out as just a challenge or a game slowly spirals into more. So it sounds super spicy, super good. I adore every single thing I read by Cate. She is one of my favorite, like, spicy contemporary romance authors. So like I said, this is from Hello Lovely. It seems like they are gonna start having more hardback books, which I do appreciate. Now, what comes with that is they are raising the price, which is a little bit of a bummer, but definitely check them out. This is probably one of my favorite editions by Hello Lovely, so I'm very excited to see what the rest of their hardbacks end up looking like. And last up for special editions is one of my favorite books in this haul. It is Inked in Lives by Giana Darling. This is my absolute favorite book in the Fallen Men MC series. And if you're unfamiliar with the Fallen MC series, it is a dark contemporary motorcycle club series. And it's a series that really got me into reading contemporary and dark romance. Prior to that, I was really only reading fantasy romance. So I love that series. It is so close to my heart. I actually have a spoiler-free series review of that whole series you can check out. I'll leave in the cards and the description. And I go through all the books, once again, spoiler-free, but every book is like an interconnected standalone, so there's different tropes for every book. So if you're looking for a certain trope, definitely check out that video. But as soon as I saw this book on Bookstagram, I was like, I need it. I just love the art. I believe this was a collab with Giana Darling and then the Fit teacher Rachel. But oh my gosh, just once again, it is so, so stunning. I'm obsessed with it. But anyway, this is one of my new favorite books to have in my collection. And moving into fantasy romance, first up we have A Game of Veils, and this was so kindly sent to me from the author Eva Chase. So this is a Why Choose fantasy romance, and it sounds so good. We are following this princess, and after her kingdom is conquered, she is forced to compete for the hand of this cruel prince. And while she is competing, she ends up forming a connection with some of the prince's wards. I feel like that's where the Why Choose kind of comes in, and it goes from there. But I read other books by this author, A Thief of Silver and Souls, and I loved it. So I know this is going to be so, so good. And next up, I bought multiple copies of the Legacy series by Melissa K. Roehirch. So here's the thing before I get into it, because I know I'm going to get a comment. Yes, I did buy multiple copies of the same book, completely unnecessary. However, 1, I love supporting authors, especially when I'm obsessed with a series. And 2, I work so hard to be able to buy these books that it's my hobby. I like collecting books. So yes, please, before you comment that, just know I understand. And I also understand I'm unbelievably fortunate that I can buy these books. But anyway, moving on, I love this series so much. I will say it probably won't be for everyone. It is a dark fantasy romance series. Check trigger warnings. The first book really plays around with a captor-captive dynamic. So some people are not going to like it. That is totally okay. Reading is subjective. But the first book, Reign of Shadows and Endings, is set in this realm that was created by gods where their children, the Legacy, rule over the Fae. So the Fae really grow up knowing that they are going to serve the legacy. And our main character is named Tessa, and she has grown up knowing that one day she will serve one of the 6 Fae houses, but she doesn't think she's going to have like a very high up position. Anyway, there is a ceremony that ends up taking place, and Tessa is selected to be the personal source to the Heir of Endings. Now, if you are a personal source, that means that you are given these markings that allow you to, or you're now forced, where the person that also has the markings can hear your thoughts, feelings, and it's kind of like a forced mate bond. So Tessa obviously does not want to be tethered to this random powerful stranger that she knows nothing about. This marking can also cause you to have some like physical spicy feelings towards the person, so it's just a very awkward situation in general. So really this first book is just Tessa navigating now being a personal source to a legacy, but also her kind of uncovering these mysteries and secrets about her past, and it was so good. I read both books 1 and 2 in 4 or 5 days. I was hooked. I have not been that immersed and just obsessed with a story since I think I read ACOTAR. So highly, highly recommend. So I did buy this first book in hardback, the second book in hardback, then I also bought the first book off Melissa K. Roehirch website, and they are signed, which is really what I wanted because I just wanted signed copies, and I hopefully will get to meet her one day at one of the signings I go to. But yeah, I love the Legacy series, so if you have not read it, check triggers, but highly recommend. And next up, we have Embers in the Snow, and this is a standalone vampire fantasy romance. And I actually picked this up because Jen from the Book Refuge recommended it. And while I was reading it, me and Jen were chatting, and she pointed out that this feels like a small town fantasy romance, and I completely agree. There is action in this, but as far as the romance, they just really are just trying to live and get by with all of these bad things happening. But their romance is just adorable. They just meet, and it's very, very cute. So sometimes that's refreshing when you've read a ton of enemies to lovers just to get this like adorable, cute romance, which is funny because he is a vampire. But the story is following Finley, and at the start of our story, Finley finds out that her father has arranged for her to marry this cursed, I think he's a lord or a duke. He was supposed to be the heir to the throne, but after the curse, he no longer is able. So she travels through this like wintry forest in order to get to him, and when she gets to him, there were people that attacked, and it kind of goes from there. But really the story is just these two people trying to survive with all of these horrible things happening around them, and it was a very enjoyable story. I will say I wish we had a tiny bit more action because I did like the way the action in this was written and maybe a little bit more spice. But overall, this was a solid read. And next up is House of Bane and Blood. This is an adult, kind of like steampunk meets Peaky Blinders fantasy romance. We're following this girl, Camilla, and in order to save her family, she agrees to an arranged marriage. However, when the day comes, she ends up married to somebody else who wants to use her to help uncover some mysteries. And also, there are some murders taking place, and there's a lot going on. I'm not exactly sure what would be considered a spoiler. But overall, this was really fun. I'll give more of my in-depth thoughts during my wrap-up, but I really enjoyed this. It definitely had the Peaky Blinders vibe, and just a really, really fun story. And next up, we have Asking for Trouble, which was so kindly sent to me from Giana Darling. This is the most recent release in the Fallen MC series. Once again, you can read all of the books as standalones. I believe this is considered a novella, but this story is following Boner and Blue. So at the start of our story, Blue is working at a gas station that ends up being robbed, and then Boner shows up, saves the day, and it's their romance. So I have yet to get to this, but I want to get to this really soon. I absolutely love, like I've said before, the entire Fallen MC series, so I know I'm going to be just as obsessed with Boner, but I cannot wait. Last up is Graves. This is a dark Why Choose romance. I thought this was so much fun. So this is following these two brothers. One of them ends up becoming obsessed with this girl, and he stalks her from afar. And then he ends up going to prison because he unalived somebody that was trying to hurt the girl. Mind you, she has no idea that she was being stalked or any of this was happening. So when that brother goes to prison, he asks his twin brother if the twin brother will watch out for the girl he's obsessed with. He agrees. Then that twin brother becomes obsessed with her. Then the other brother gets out of jail. And it goes from there. But it had like so many tropes that I've seen in other books, but somehow it just felt very fresh. Like, some of it reminded me of Haunting Adeline, and there was another part that really reminded me of Along for the Ride by Lauren Beale, but like in the best possible way. So if you like dark Why Choose Romance, I highly, highly recommend. Alright guys, that is it for my end of summer book haul. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you've read any of the books I mentioned. And I'd also like to say a special thank you to my Paladin protectors, Amanda, Erin, Leslie, and Kat. Thank you guys so much for supporting my channel. And I said this already, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday, and if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. I will see you all next week. Bye!